The Department of Justice has had to admit to a federal judge and also to the ACLU that in some cases they may have separated children from US citizens and also detained these US citizens for up to a year. These were mistakes made during Trump's enforcement of his so-called zero tolerance policy. So the Department of Justice told a federal judge that it may have mistakenly separated a father and toddler who could both be US citizens for as long as a year. The individual representing the ACLU in this case said the following: the fact that a citizen got caught up in this mess shows just how poor the government's record keeping was, and this is just the latest example. So Trump is known for using policies or implementing policies that have not been well thought out. He does it all the time. I mean, the first example of that during his presidency was his ban on transgender individuals in the military. He didn't talk to the Justice Department about it. He didn't talk to the Department of Defense about it. He just tweeted about it out of nowhere, and it was a mess from the beginning. And now it's extended. That ideology is extended to other policies, including the zero tolerance policy.
It's so often he announces policies without checking with his chief of staff or his secretary of defense, let alone our allies. That's because he is a child, he's temperamental, he doesn't know or care to know how any process works because he's not very bright, so he doesn't realize, hey, actions have consequences. And he lacks all empathy, so he's like, those consequences are not for me, they're for you. So if you're separated from your kid and it turns out you are a US citizen, yeah, but you're not me, I don't care. What do I care about? I care about looking tough. And so in this case, it's a US citizen, so maybe they were a little embarrassed, they shouldn't have done that. No, for Trump, does it really matter that much with his base? He's like, look, they were brown. Now, he didn't say that, but do you see his base up in arms? Like, what are you doing to US citizens? We're all created equal. I don't really see that. Do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, the argument that you hear time and time again from people who support the zero tolerance policy is that liberals prioritize undocumented immigrants over Americans, which is not true. Actually, conservatives don't seem to care too much about American citizens either. They just use them and exploit them as convenient props when they're making these immigration arguments. But with that said, I mean, you have US citizens caught up in this mess. We don't even know if that person is Latino or brown. We don't know anything about him right now. He's not identified. But regardless, US citizens are getting caught up in this mess because it's not well thought out, it is inhumane, and it wasn't planned at all, properly at all. So if you genuinely do care about anyone's life, specifically Americans' lives, you should be concerned about the incompetence of the Trump administration when they're implementing these policies.
Well, all right, but finally I'll give you a small guarantee and a big guarantee. The small guarantee is whoever that immigrant, that US citizen is that got locked up as an undocumented immigrant when they weren't and had their kids taken from them, they're not white. Okay, ICE is not going to white communities in the middle of the country and going, all right, let's grab a bunch of white people and figure out later if they're immigrants or not immigrants.
Right.
But they are going into random Latino communities in the middle of New York City. How is that close to the Mexican border? They're like, technically, we're within 100 miles of the Canadian border. Ha ha, got you. I'll go terrorize Latino communities in the middle of New York City, in the middle of LA, et cetera, and let's snatch up some Latinos and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? So now the big guarantee is, whoever it is, they have no money.
Right, yes, you're right.
And so rich people do not accidentally get detained for a year. That never happens, okay? But if you're poor in this country, God help you. Because if they grab you by mistake and they rip you from your family, since you got no resources and the government's a giant bureaucracy, it's gonna roll over you. And what happens when you go to any detention center? Whether it's prison or something that's a little different than that. Hey, but I'm a citizen. Yeah, sure you are, shut up, right? Because people who are in detention have no rights, okay? And we've been taught, oh no, you just treat them like animals. So I don't, depends probably a little bit on what your race is, but apparently this can happen to anybody in America. And if you don't have the money to be able to fight back, God knows how long you stay in detention, and God knows how long you're ripped away from your family. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.